We didn't have an episode planned this week, but with the news that the former athletic director of Georgia Tech, Homer Rice, passed, we felt it was more than appropriate to at least dedicate some time to remembering him and just reflecting on how impactful he was for Tech. Because there is arguably, arguably no one more important for launching Tech into the modern age that they are in now, other than Homer Rice. He passed away yesterday, June 10, at the age of 97 and was the athletic director from 1980 to 1997. I've got Ken Sugiura here with me to help uh, just provide some color, help us remember, because this was obviously well before my time and a little bit before Ken's, I guess, imagine yours as well. But at least you've got to talk to Homer in the past. So first,
Mhm.
thanks for hopping on.
Sure.
What crossed your mind, or once you saw the news came out?
Well, certainly just sad. I got to know him a little bit in my time covering tech. He was someone that I spoke with occasionally for kind of when I was writing about tech history and things like that. And he was always gracious, always helpful, friendly, encouraging. He and his wife Karen were nothing but really good to me. So just sad for him personally. But then also, yeah, obviously you think about just the incredible legacy he had at Tech. Like you said, he launched Tech into the ACC era, hired a ton of really good coaches, um, raised a lot of money, built a lot of things, and the total person program, his work there kind of speaks for itself, and having a vision for athletic departments that I think was really probably in a lot of ways a lot different than what had happened previously. But then too, just and Mark Bradley's and actually Steve Hummer's stories both touch on it. Just beyond that incredible life lived, he served in the military in World War II.
Mhm.
He was a very successful high school football coach. Was I mean, you think about like he was a head coach of the Bengals. He was a head coach of the college level at Rice. He was an AD at North Carolina, an AD at Tech, um, and an author. Was a very good quarterback in his own right, and from all accounts, a loving husband and father and grandfather. So yeah, an amazing life.
Yeah, it's a full life. That's a full football life, a full sports life. I mean, that touches
Right.
up so many corners of uh, impactful parts in the sports world for sure.
Hmm.
To put some context, he came in 1980. The 1980 football season, Tech was still independent. They went 1-9-1. Um, One of the last ties the school ever had before they got rid of ties in college football. 1983, they joined the ACC, and the next year they have a winning record and are on track to be pretty successful through that 1990 season. Let me read the list of coaches he hired because
Yeah.
even now they are still having a massive impact on campus. Bobby
Hmm.
Cremins, Bobby Ross, George O'Leary, Jim Morris, Danny Hall, and Bruce Hepler. And one of those hires just won another national title. So the butterfly effects, the ripples
Right.
of Dr. Rice's hire, his impact on Tech is still lasting. That list of the coaches is basically everyone you talk about outside of Paul Johnson in terms of important coaches Tech ever had. Uh,
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, there's a couple you can pick and choose at, certainly Paul Hewitt, but
right.
yeah. I mean, you think about it that the two best baseball coaches Tech has had, clearly the best men's basketball coach Tech has had,
Mm-hmm.
um, and then you know he didn't hire Bill Curry, but was obviously very supportive of his tenure, and then hired
Mm-hmm.
Bobby Ross to win a national championship. So yeah, and you contrast that with what kind of Tech's baseline has been, where it's been often competitive in a lot of areas, but not necessarily perennially strong. And you look at what certainly what Bruce Hepler has done. He set the standard. It's been far and away Tech's strongest program for years and years, and Homer Rice found him. I believe he was an assistant coach at Oklahoma State. Probably not someone that
Mm-hmm.
everyone was beating down the door for. Maybe they were, but yeah, but found him, and is still winning titles and tournaments today. So yeah, just an incredible knack for hiring the right coaches. And as Tech fans all know, that's not an easy job to do.
No,
Sometimes
no.
you hit it and sometimes you don't, and he hit it far often more than he didn't.
And when he was making those initial hires for Kirk Cremins, especially like the facility, like Tech has already kind of been behind in terms of like budget and stuff like that historically, but
Right.
it was at another level of like not even meeting NCAA standards back when he got to Tech, and
Right.
being able to convince those incredibly important guys to probably take less money,
Hmm.
and at a place that did not look any, but did not look just it did not look good to look at. It was not a great place
Right.
to be. Like you
Right.
trained outside, there was chicken wire kind of stuff to
Right.
as protection and fences. Like it was not great. It was not great.
Right.
And
Yeah. Yeah. I
yeah.
mean, and you think about it too with Robbie Cremens, for instance, like we've heard it now, with Damon Stoudemire and Josh Passer before him, and even Brian Gregory before him, is that we've seen how great Georgia Tech can be, and we want to bring those days back. When Bobby Cremens came, there was nothing to say like, oh, we can
Mm-mm.
build on X. I mean, there'd been,
No.
I guess, maybe a couple NCAA tournament bids, but sort of not any sort of tradition or history of excellence. And so, yeah, you're convincing someone coming from a mid-major, um, you know, not the biggest name, I'm sure, to build something. And Tech was at the very bottom of a very, very strong conference.
Yeah.
And he Homer picked the right guy to take it to the top. So yeah, and as you said, yeah, like in Steve Homer's story, he was quoting Bill Curry with a football team saying that, I think it was their weight room facility was outside. It was basically the same as what Curry had when he was there, 20, I guess 15 years earlier. Um, and so,
Yeah. Same as
yeah,
in
just
the 60s and barely even different from what was in the 40s. Like,
right,
which
right.
is
So,
wild to
yeah,
think for 1980 that it was still stuck in that age. But sure.
right, yeah, yeah,
I found it I know about I learned a lot more about his Bengals part of his career, and just found it fascinating that the Bengals, when they were not doing well, got rid of the coaching staff, but were willing to just keep Homer around,
hmm
and was like, yeah, no, we'll keep, like, I think it's, which speaks to, I think, how much of a good person he was, and like just the guy you want to have around for any organization, that even if you're not winning, he's still worth it to be in the room, um, and carry things along. But instead, we took him, and I think we're all happier for it that he
yeah,
came here instead at that pivot point that he could have had. Um, so some more numbers here. There was obviously the 1990 national title was during his time here at the College World Series run in 1994. There were 16 ACC titles won across 5 sports while he was here. And then the total person program, which he implemented at Tech and is now with the NCAA Life Skills program that's across college athletics. Like there was another note in Steve's piece about how they weren't really coaching that on the football team, and he was like, "Oh
right,
no, we're doing this
right,
tomorrow for an hour. You're doing like you don't get to say no. We're doing this."
right,
And if you go on Georgia Tech sports website, the total person program is a tab on the main header of the website. Like that is
hmm
one of the most important things they have here, um, which I think speaks to the best part of coach. This speaks to the best part of the best coaches and leaders is person development versus on field, on court, on whatever development,
right.
um, helping people. And I think what has been the pitch for Tech for so long is like, yeah, sure, we may not be the most glamorous athletic program, but you're going to set yourself up for life by showing up here and going through our program. And a lot of that has to do with because of Homer.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, having been around the athletic department for the time that I was, that was something that was, I think a lot of people took a lot and still take a lot of pride in, I'm sure. And it wasn't just lip service. You saw it in, kids getting summer internships or challenging themselves academically or whatever it was, and coaches who I think you saw who were wanting to develop these athletes as people and students and helping them get jobs and all those sorts of things. So yeah, it's one way certainly that Tech has distinguished itself over the years, and you just hope that as we're in a very different era of college athletics, that piece will remain not just at Tech, but hopefully in some form or fashion across college athletics.
Yeah, I think right now it's a much harder sell with the tumultuous nature of, maybe
Right.
not harder sell, but just the bag of money is way more prevalent and extremely
Yes.
powerful and right
Yeah.
there for a lot of people, and for a lot of people that's the decision they have to make, but in some
Yeah.
cases, like there is the thought of like, all right, how do you approach this very pivotal point in your life? And having people like him was extremely important because for most college people, they're learning how to human while
Right.
they're in college, while
Yeah.
juggling classes and basically a full-time job of being an athlete. So
Hmm.
it's no easy feat whatsoever. His statue on campus, which if you didn't know, if you never recognized the other statue, Bobby Dodd and John Heisman statue, he has the third one on campus. It just got moved to the Collins Gate on North Ave as part of the
Okay.
construction. So there he is. He is permanently on campus.
Hmm.
For those that haven't ever noticed or just want to go see his statue. Yeah, I think just to mostly wrap up here, lifelong lived. Sucks he didn't get to 100. I guess that would have been a cool little marker there. Um,
Yeah.
I do find it funny that the Homer Rice like part of the athletics building has come down in the same year that he has
Hmm.
passed. So I guess some fitting
That's
eras moving
interesting.
on.
Yeah.
That
I
just
guess so.
weird coincidence there. I don't
Yeah.
read into astrology or anything like that. That's just pure coincidence on my end. Um, but yeah, this is a one of the tech like if you're gonna do a Mount Rushmore, you got to put Homer up there. And we kind of did this at a previous episode of like it, so much changes because he showed up. So
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you think about it, and I remember talking about this at the time of the statue presentation when it was revealed that you look at Tech's history, even going before the ACC, there's Bobby Dodd, I guess John Heisman, and you certainly have to put Homer Rice at the very top of that list. Certainly in the last 50 years, going
yeah,
back to the
yeah,
ACC period, he's by far and away the most important figure, I would say, in Tech's history in that standpoint. And yeah, so I'm certainly deserving of being recognized in that way, and hopefully when the replacement for the Edge building is raised, that he'll be honored in some way, shape, or form in that new
yep,
building.
yeah. I hope so. To close, I want to read part of Coach Brent Key's quote or synopsis of his remembering of Coach Rice because I think it embodies both what he learned, obviously from Coach Rice, but then also what it's doing in the current state of tech, considering Brent's position right now.
Hmm.
Coach Rice was an inspiration to me and someone that I aspired to model myself after as a coach and leader. He taught me the term tech man, a label that I hold as one of the greatest compliments in the world. The heartfelt letter that he sent me when I was named the head coach at Tech meant so much to me and is something I will always treasure. I'll stop there. Connecting the past to now.
Hmm.
It's a good. So glad that Brent got to get that, and that's got to be. I hope that sits somewhere in his office that you can look back on that because
Yeah,
that's gonna be a prized possession, I'm sure.
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I think that's all I got here, Ken. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, sure.
Needed to take
Yeah,
a
fun to talk with you.
always got to take a moment to remember the tech legends. There's
Yep.
that is partly what this podcast exists for. If you
Hmm.
were at Tech, we might know your name.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I will remember him well. He was, as I said, good to me when he didn't have to be. He owed me nothing, but was always gracious and helpful to me, and I will certainly remember him well for sure.
awesome, awesome. Well, if you want to see a statue, it's on campus. Hopefully, there's some flowers there. I haven't actually checked, but we'll see. All right,
So,
we'll see
all
y'all
right.
next. We'll see y'all next time.